Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this DIA webinar. We're going to take another minute or 2 minutes to give people the opportunity to join this webinar. So we'll start in about 2 minutes. So we'll give it another minute or so to give people the opportunity to join us, and then we'll get started. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this DIA webinar together with FRISS, WebIQ, and Bequiff. Today, we have some good news to share with you about bad news. We'll talk about the latest developments in smart screening and fraud detection, and how this can help insurers reduce risk and prevent fraud. And all this in a very efficient way. My name is Bertina Bus, and I'm Director Digital Strategies at DIA, and I'll be your moderator today. And I want to welcome our 3 speakers. I want to ask you to briefly introduce yourself. Let's start with Simon.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Simon Stadigheid. I started my career at the Dutch police force as a detective in the financial and economic fraud area. Then I switched to Interpolis Achmea in a special investigation unit to fight against insurance fraud. And after that, I was 10 years head of a special investigation unit of DLL, the Lage Landen called. It's a global leasing and finance company. After that, and now for 4 years, I work at FRISS to help our customers to get the best out of the FRISS solution and to create the most added value for our customers. So that's me.
Great, thank you. Ronald, you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ronald Toek, working about 4 years now at WebIQ. I'm the Marketing and Partnership Director. I have a background in business economics and worked in data and technology, as well as analytical, product and commercial roles. Within WebIQ, I started the WebIQ business division. And since the start, I think almost 3 years ago, already working together with FRISS. So thanks a lot for having me here today, and especially thanks, of course, to DIA for organizing today's webinar.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's go to Jelle.
Yes, thank you, Bertina. Well, my name is Jelle Hoordijk. I am a compliance officer at Bequiff. We are a Dutch-based equipment leasing company. I have a background in customer due diligence with various banks here in the Netherlands. And I am responsible for the customer due diligence processes here within Bequiff. We have a cooperation with FRISS and WebIQ for our onboarding process for around 1.5 years now. Well, I'm here to tell you a little bit about my experiences with that later on. And now I would like to give the word back to Bertina.
Okay, thanks, Jelle. Before we start our conversation, let's talk logistics. Our conversation will be approximately 30 minutes, followed by 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can type them in the question box, and at the end of the session, we'll go through all your questions. So let's get started. Simon, at FRISS, you're in the business of fraud detection software. helping insurers fight insurance fraud. You advocate honest insurance. You don't want people to have to pay higher insurance premiums because others are committing fraud. And through AI technology and data, you help insurers detect and prevent fraud, helping them to deliver honest insurance. Looking at the market in this area, what are some of the key challenges that insurers are facing in detecting and preventing fraud?
Well, maybe there are three things. One is data quality, internal data and external data quality. There's a lot of data available within an insurance company or a finance company. That's very useful. And the challenge is to retrieve this data from the different departments and make it usable for our purposes. So that's one. The other one is being able to be protected in real time during the onboarding, the renewals, and during the claim settlement. So the whole process to be protected. That's the second one. And the third one is keeping up with the fraud schemes and the trends within that fraud area. And I think that's the three main topics that I can mention.
Yeah, go ahead. So, and if we zoom in on client acceptances and the client screening process, what are specific challenges in that area?
Well, the time that's needed to create a holistic overview of the risks attached to a policy request, for instance, U-boot determination, business insights, and fraud prevention. The compliance regulations regarding money laundering are more and more strict, as you know. The quality of the portfolio, that's one that's really important. And all the financials want to create a digital process that's auditable. So transparency is one of the key things that's very important as well.
Okay. Yeah. So FRISS and WebIQ decided to join forces to tackle these challenges. Before we go into that, Simon, can you explain briefly what FRISS does and how it works?
Yeah, insurance fraud, that's really a serious threat for the entire insurance industry. Payment of fraudulent claims has a negative effect on the loss ratio and on insurance premiums. And if not tackled well, it will erode the important role insurance have to allow people and business to take risks they can't bear themselves. So why should sincere customers pay for the abuse by others? That's something we cannot and we should not accept. Therefore, it's our mission to make insurance more honest every day. FRISS helps you to mop the floor and to closing the tap on the front door. We do so by allowing insurers to use state-of-the-art predictive analytics and connect internal and external data sources to our platform. This way, we are able to deliver a solid end-to-end risk assessment at underwriting, and we help to prevent and detect fraud in claims. For the user of our solution, it's easy to work with. The FRISS platform will present every screening a FRISS score, and all the relevant information is just with one click available. Via the FRISS score, you can see this in this application or a claim that needs more attention. We've got a strong focus on straight-through processing, making sure that work that can be automated gets done by a computer without losing the necessary human control. We can select those applications or claims that need more attention from a senior claim handler or an investigator. So that's something that we do.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So you decided to team up with WebIQ to help insurers improve the client acceptance process and the client screening. Can you tell us a bit more about why you decided to join forces with WebIQ?
Yeah, we've incorporated the functionality of WebIQ into our FRISS platform, and this brings added value for our FRISS score that indicates the risk for each policy application, a renewal or a claim. This WebIQ functionality will give you in one overview all the relevant information that could be found on the internet without technical barriers such as settings, etc. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Relevant information on companies and persons are retrieved real-time and directly available. You can speed up your own onboarding and renewal process with a complete overview that improves your quality of your portfolio.
Great, thank you. So let's take a look at WebIQ in a bit more detail. And Ronald, I hear that WebIQ has a very special origin story, and it helps explain a lot of the power of your solution. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, please. So yeah, we have a background working for the law enforcement and the governments, actually, where we develop technology to automate OSINT and intelligence solutions to enhance investigations, for example, on the web, social media, and the dark web. So we work, for example, with institutions like Interpol, Europol, and many national and international government institutions now in over 30 countries at this moment. So yeah, we work on various OSINT use cases, like, for example, helping Dutch cities keeping their city safe, or we work, for example, with global foundations to help find missing children online, or help police investigations with the dark web or other internet intelligence. But because of this background of applying technology in investigations, we also work with financial institutions and in insurances, for example, to support anti-money laundering processes or to help detect fraud. So what we see is that insurance companies, but also financial institutions and many others, they often conduct a lot of manual searching on the internet. And for example, customer due diligence or underwriting or claims processes. We, however, with our technology, we can turn the internet actually in an actionable data source. So we can really support the analysts and make them work much more efficient and fun.
Great. So Simon, can you explain a bit how FRISS and WebIQ work together?
Yeah, okay. During the screening of a new application, all the relevant data is sent to WebIQ, and they will process the data and send the results directly back to FRISS. So we can combine this information into our FRISS score. This whole process is real time and will take just a blink of an eye.
Okay, so Ronald, what happens in the blink of an eye? What does WebIQ do?
Yeah, so a lot. So what a system does, and we call it IRIS, we use actually multiple search engines and OSINT strategies to collect all the potential relevant risk information around a person and or an organization. So and then on top of that, of course, we apply advanced technology like well, a bit of machine learning, of course, but smart text algorithms to filter out all the irrelevant results. So then basically the insurer or the analyst receives only the information that actually matters. So through the integration with FRISS, we automatically enrich then the customer profiles with information from the web, like, for example, adverse news, the bad news we talk about today. And because of the integration, our system works already with the information that's already in the system. So there's no copy and pasting, there's no manual Googling. And then, of course, again, the results are automatically all stored in the case file and automatically included in the FRISS score. So this really assures like a very smooth due diligence process. And of course, all GDPR proof. So what our solution basically does is it helps really the analyst to know that if there's information to be found online that is relevant, then that information should be taken into account. So then you will also know it. But also often very relevant is if there's no information found, which luckily is usually the case, of course, but then the customer can safely assume a lower risk profile. So that really makes the analyst his work much more efficient, and because then they can focus on those files that do need extra investigation.
Yeah, perfect. And also accept with confidence if nothing shows up, basically.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So how does this all work in practice? So we're really happy to have one of your clients here, Jelle Hoordijk from Bequiff, an equipment lease company. Jelle, can you give us a bit of background on Bequiff and then talk about some of the challenges you are facing in accepting and screening new clients?
Yes, of course, I would be happy to. Well, first off, Bequiff, we are a Dutch-based leasing company which has been around for about 5 years now. Well, we're making we're having real growth as a new company with over what's a milliard in English? 1 billion. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. 1 billion in the past 5 years from leasing, from contracts, which we're very proud of. Our biggest advantage to the traditional leasing companies that we are actually experts on the equipment we finance. So we have our own experts, our leasing officers, that actually know a lot more of the equipment itself than basically anything else. There are people from that area, so we can well, basically use the equipment as insurance. So we can well, help a lot more customers that probably would get a rejection from the more traditional companies. Well, that also brings a lot of challenges in regards to the customer due diligence, because well, we're a young company and we take pride in being one of the fastest as it comes to a contract, actually making a lease happen, which also requires a quick customer due diligence scan. Well, one of the challenges we had was that at first our customer due diligence investigations were done manually. We have a team that goes through pretty much every new customer and well, basically gets the due diligence done, including the adverse media, but at first, we were using, at first it took us about 30-35 minutes per customer to do the customer due diligence, well, which really got us at capacity pretty fast. So we had to come up with something, and that's where FRISS got into the picture. So yeah, well, one of the challenges was speeding up. FRISS helped us with that by letting the platform do a lot of checks automatically. So at first we used about 8 different systems from different suppliers to get all our information, including manual Google searches, which, well, basically they always gave a result, but yeah, they weren't very accurate most of the time. So we were losing a lot of time just scrolling through all the results that did not actually hit anything. And well, what we also noticed is that no matter what kind of search engine you use, the commercial search engines always give you a result. So we use a string with, well, of course, the customer name or the name of the entrepreneur, with about 18 keywords, well, which also always resulted in 2, 3, 4 pages of results, but a lot of false positives, or sometimes nothing at all. But the commercial search engines, they always give you results. even if there aren't any.
Yeah.
So that was costing us a lot. Come again?
Yeah, and then still somebody had to go through those results to figure out, is this useful, is it meaningful? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that was costing us a lot of time. Like I think 1/3 of the time we actually used on our investigations was scrolling through all the results and reading all the articles to see if there might be something there. So yeah, that was a real challenge, to be honest.
Yeah, extremely time consuming, and also I think sort of putting limits to your growth. It's what you mentioned.
Certainly.
So how did the FRISS WebIQ solution help you? How is it being used?
Okay. Well, I actually said it earlier, but FRISS helped us to automate most of our checks, from getting the structure and the ultimate beneficiary owners, well, most of the time, to getting the sanction and PEP checks done, to even fit in, automate some of our own custom checks, and also getting the Google searches out of our way, which really helped. So, and that was in cooperation with WebIQ, of course. Well, as of this moment, we are close to getting about 45% of our checks as a go, so as a automated check. So what we basically do, we can soft accept our clients using FRISS, which in the first year got us to a 30% positive advice to 45 at the moment, which actually saves us a lot of time because we do not have to go through all of these checks. So that helped us a lot. Yeah. And also, the way we can scroll through the results we get through the FRISS platform, it's very easy to see what are the hits, what are the sources, and to see if it's actually relevant or not. So that also helped us a lot to to see if there was actually a hit we have to do something about. So that really helped. And furthermore, they give us, WebIQ gives us the confidence that that we actually find everything there is to find on the web regarding an entrepreneur or a company, which really helps because it saves you a lot of extra investigation. If you the feeling that there might be something wrong or there might be something I'm missing, and it really helps to be more certain about your decision.
Yeah, clear. So could you give some kind of estimate of how much time this is saving you? What the results are of using this solution?
Yes, I can. As I said earlier, we previously, our manual checks, we needed an average of 30 minutes, so half an hour to complete. And about 10 minutes of that half hour was scrolling through the results our Google string search was providing. And there was basically every investigation we had to go through all these results. And now with WebIQ, we have about I think 25 to 30% of the investigations we do that WebIQ will tell us there are no hits whatsoever. So that saves us the 10 minutes, so 33% of our time on not searching any further, which makes if you consider that one person 8-hour workday, so you get you should be able to do 16 investigations while saving 30% of that really helps. So I think on average per day, we should be saving about 100 minutes, which gives us actually a lot of time to investigate more clients, which we're very happy about.
Yeah. So enabling you to grow further. So that's great. So Ronald, are these kind of similar results you're seeing with other clients?
Yeah, yeah, it's very typical, Neil. We achieve very similar results, also in other organizations, but also, for example, in the field for KYC or anti-money laundering investigations. It saves time, but also improves the screening, because you just find if there's something there, you find it instead of so you have a good methodology, and it provides the audit trail. So all the evidence is directly in the case file. So especially due to our background in the various industries with similar challenges in OSINT and open source intelligence, we can really help the analyst being an analyst instead of being a data processor, processing, copy pasting data, and having all the information quickly at hand and analyzed.
Yeah, great.
I really recognize that, by the way, Ronald. That a lot of my members in the team actually told me that it's way easier to use WebIQ and FRISS and get through the results than the endless scrolling through nothing. So yeah, I really recognize what you're saying there.
Okay, so making employees happier as well. That's great.
Exactly.
Simon, anything you want to add in terms of results?
Yeah, as you hear from Jelle, this integration is already proven technology, and it's really efficient to work with it. Several customers of FRISS are using this technology, and currently we are onboarding a number of new customers. And an analyst is really an analyst instead of a data handler to process data. Yeah. So that's right.
Great. So you're also working with a leading insurer to implement this this solution. Can you tell us a bit more about how they're using this and what kind of results they're seeing?
Yeah, this customer is a large insurer, and their compliance department wanted to do more about money laundering and financing terrorism during the onboarding of new customers and during the renewals. So this is for them an add-on on their onboarding and monitoring processes. Luckily, in the first 3 months, during a regular renewal check, that brought a lot of interesting information on an existing customer. And this was vital information for them, and they missed it during the previous onboarding of that customer. So the insurance company decided to end the contract. So it was very important for them. Yeah.
Already an important result. Can you tell us a bit more about other results they've achieved by using this solution?
Oh yeah, because one of our other customers implemented this WebIQ functionality for compliance reasons as well. But more or less by coincidence, they were able to detect 3 potential fraud cases during the pilot phases in the underwriting process. So therefore, we've added some more search criteria for this customer as well. And so now they're using it for the whole onboarding processes. But one of I would love to tell this story, because one of the most impressive results of using WebIQ is the case of an invisible customer. This invisible son mandated his father to represent him in doing business. But during several occasions, our customer got a strange feeling about this representation about his father. So their own manual investigation didn't bring new insights, so the weird feeling continued. And during the presentation of WebIQ at that customer, well, that case had to be screened, of course, because it was a case that it was weird and they want to see what WebIQ should bring. But the result, it was amazing, because WebIQ hadn't got geographic limits during their search. And so we found out that this customer was sentenced to jail in Italy for 12 years for drug trafficking. And his full name, picture, and all the juicy details were on the front page of a local Italian newspaper. And this information was visible just within a click. So that was really, really breathtaking. Yeah. But then I realized that on your own computer, the settings are limited to certain areas, to a country or whatever. And WebIQ hasn't got that kind of limitations. So that's really, at least for my opinion, really an advanced thing for WebIQ.
Great. Very impressive. So you launched this solution about a year and a half ago, 2 years. Can you tell us a bit about how the market has reacted to this so far?
Yeah, most of the insurance companies are a little bit cautious about or like to avoid risks by nature, because that's an insurance company. But some new initiatives in the financial market embrace this digital feature, and it seems to be effective, as you heard. Bequiff is a great example of it. We've in case studies we saw at this large insurer that the onboarding process, just as Jelle mentioned, the standard onboarding process was a Google search incorporated as well. But every 30% of every new application gave an alert from the standard Google check. And that took a lot of time, and we measured that during a certain amount of time. It took 42 minutes to investigate those Google checks on a manual basis. So you can imagine this is much more efficient. And at this moment, every alert that's really an alert is presented in a clear view with the original source direct available. So I think efficiency is really key on this.
Yeah, clear. So based on your experience working together, what are some learnings you can share with the audience? Any do's or don'ts in the process? Simon, you start.
Yeah, I think be transparent to each other, keep an eye on the needs of the customer and the added value for the customer as well. I've learned that regular meetings to discuss the experiences and a constructive approach from everybody that's involved, that's important. And keep in mind that the technology alone doesn't do the trick. It's where technology meets the technique where the magic happens, because we have to do it together.
Okay, great. Ronald?
Yeah, so we work very closely with FRISS and also end users like Bequiff, really to fine-tune our systems and also assure high quality. So, but for you, as an insurance organization, I really believe it's very important that you develop awareness of the working of your systems and your data. And then I'm talking especially about the blind spots that every system has. So by making this a priority and of course having the correct partners around you who take your feedback into practice, you can really make good progress and achieve good results. So for example, we've recently included also online customer reviews about organizations. So just to provide relevant risk insights. Because this is a typical blind spot in many known adverse media databases, and also it doesn't appear very easily in online searches. However, they offer very insightful results in, for example, the evaluation and of the reliability of and the validity of an organization. So this is an example, like, if you sit together and you're aware, you start creating awareness around blind spots, that's really where, the next level results are achievable.
Great. Jelle, what about you? What about Bequiff?
Yes, as Simon mentioned, actually, I would like to get into detail a little bit more because cooperation with FRISS and WebIQ initially when implementing the solution really helped, to be honest. At first, it was pretty new for me as well. The support I got from as well from FRISS as from WebIQ was really good. They helped me understand, and my tip to basically anyone who will be working together with WebIQ or FRISS. Always stay in touch with those guys. Both parties are very keen to improve their product, and they can do that more efficiently if we as users help them with feedback. Like for instance, we had a period where we got a lot of hits from the same website, which was an old World War II information website. Very interesting, but not really for our purposes. When we had our evaluation, I actually told WebIQ about that, and they found a solution. So they really helped. So my tip, if you're going to if you're going to cooperate with WebIQ and FRISS, stay active in that cooperation.
Great. Okay. We're almost at the end of our session, and before we wrap up, a brief word of caution. I think we're all happy to see that in many countries the pandemic situation is seems to be moving in the right direction. Lots of things going back to normal. But what does this mean for claims? And Simon, I believe you have something to say about that.
Yeah, we've already seen increasing claims during the pandemic. And I think we have to be aware that people who lost their job and a lot of small and mid-sized companies, they'll have a tough time at this moment. So I think insurance companies must prepare themselves for claims that could be fraudulent. And it's not only us that predict a rise in fraud cases due to the COVID pandemic. A report by the Center of Counter-Fraud Studies at the University of Portsmouth shows that fraud increased in each of the last 3 recessions. No one knows how deep this dip will go on, but I think we can all guess that this really an event and a potential pressure caused by the economic hardship that's going to be severe. So all the more reasons to be prepared and make sure your claims handling and fraud prevention is where it needs to be. That's what I want to say.
Perfect. Thank you, Simon. So in our conversation today, we've learned about the combination of FRISS and WebIQ and how this can help insurers reduce risk by doing a bad news check in a much more efficient but also effective way. So instead of manual Google searches that are extremely time consuming and often miss important information, signaling real issues, WebIQ will bring this bad news to the surface in real time. And if any bad news comes up, it's easy to go through it and understand if it's really something you need to look at further. And also, if no bad news comes up, you can also have the full confidence that you didn't miss anything and move forward. So Jelle has explained how this has worked or is still working at Bequiff and how it has saved a lot of time for you guys, has helped you grow further, and even has made colleagues happier, I think, in their work. So all good. So before we go to the questions, any closing remarks? Ronald, anything you want to say to wrap up?
Well, it's already a very good wrap up. Thank you for that. But what I would like to emphasize is that a lot of relevant information about your customers is just out there. But the trick is to do it in a cost-efficient and but mostly very effective manner, and of course also in a GDPR compliant way. So what we made is our expertise. So feel free to contact us through FRISS and try it for some weeks and see the results for yourself. And yeah, we hope we can impress you.
Great. Jelle, anything from your side?
No, not at the moment. Thank you very much.
Okay. Simon?
Well, I want to thank you all for participating in this webinar. And if you'd like to know some more about this solution, please contact me or one of my other colleagues to discuss how this can help you in your daily business.
Great. So I now would like to open it up for questions. I see we have a couple of questions already in the question box, but if you want to add one, please go ahead, just type it in the question box and we'll do our best to answer it. So I have a question here from Theo Arends, for Simon. Can you give an example of bad news which was actually good news? And what were the sources, for example? Of course, without mentioning the real names. So
yeah, I already mentioned the example of the drug trafficking that was found in Italy. They really searched manually for a long time to get some more information about this customer, and they couldn't find anything. And that was caused by the barriers. Maybe Ronald can elaborate a little bit more on that, but the geographic barriers that are limited in your search capabilities by Google, I guess. I don't know exactly, because I'm not a technical guy. Well, that was really amazing. And when you see something like that, when you're already looking for such a long time for more information, and you see all this detailed, juicy information on the front page of a newspaper in Italy, it's really great. So yeah, I think it was really nice. But maybe Ronald, you can say something about those boundaries that are limited for most of the people who search on Google.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I often get the question as well, like, you know, do we find more information than what if I would manually search on Google, for example? Usually the reply is, well, it completely depends how good you are and how much time you have reserved for each case. You know, like you said, we're not limited to one simple search string or page one of results, especially maybe also in this Italian case. You know, if you would search for this type of information from the Netherlands or from another location with certain preconditions that Google assumes based on your historic profile, it might appear in page 10 or maybe page 100, where it might be that information that's critical for your analysis. So, you know, for example, if you look at our tool, like a simple check usually includes 100 or sometimes even thousands of pages that we analyze within seconds. And yeah, but of course, our system is based on open source information. So in theory, you could also find the same information, but to actually find it and, well, disregarding all the irrelevant, all the false positives, and then making it actionable. So for example, you can apply in the FRISS score, or you can already automatically organize the result in that way from most to least relevant. That's the art, and that's where we make a difference.
Yep.
Great. Another question here from Tara Shelton. What data feeds do you use?
I think that's something for Ronald.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure what she means by data feeds. I'm not sure if she can maybe elaborate a bit more what she means by that. But what we do, so our search strategy is based on the information that's already in the system. So let's say names of a person, of an organization, location, other identifiable information. And then we use that information to search relevant information, well, in various ways. So can be, for example, via Google search, or can be we use multiple search engines and not only Google. But for example, we can also focus on specific areas. So for example, like I said before, the customer reviews around an organization can be very relevant. We can also include social media if that's required, or if that's if people like that. So you know, it's configurable. So that means we can also include, exclude certain things, also depending on your own risk appetite and the policy you prefer. So yeah, I hope I answered the question correctly like this. Not sure if she was, I don't see the Q&A.
Tara has added a bit more information. So she says, I mean, counter fraud databases, financial data, anything non-open source.
Yeah, so that's a good question indeed. And those are typical sources that can be included in, for example, the FRISS system, where they can include all types of other databases to enrich your investigation. So our expertise as a WebIQ is really the open source intelligence, where we crawl the web for relevant information out there. So of course, we can also implement APIs or other databases. That's not a problem. We also do it in other projects. But let's say the use case for today, what we discussed with together with FRISS and Bequiff, in this example case, we really focus on what we can find on the internet. But we do, of course, have the we do a lot of projects. We do a lot of customization also in our products. So we could definitely have a look at that and help you if this is a recent use case for you, a relevant use case for you.
Yeah, maybe to add something to that, the other information from external data sources, whatever it is, it's already mostly already available in our FRISS platform, because at this moment we've got I think 160 external data sources connected to our FRISS platform. But yeah, WebIQ, just as you mentioned, Ronald, is open source information. Yeah, yeah. I hope this will do.
We are basically running a little bit over, so there's one final question. See a couple of questions around, is it possible to fine-tune the search results to my risk appetite? Let's make that the last question we answer in this webinar. If you do have further questions, you can still leave them in the question box and we can answer them later and get back to you. So is it possible to fine-tune the search results to my risk appetite?
Well, I think that Jelle could answer as a customer this question the best, because well, we can tell a lot about it, but Jelle, you know what you would like to see, and what we have done, yeah, in fine-tuning the application to see how it will match the best possible way to your risk appetite. So maybe you can tell something about it.
Yes, I can elaborate a little. Well, I think it's basically two sides. FRISS is very adaptable. You can basically create your own scorecard. Luckily, the FRISS staff advises you on that, but you can basically yeah, well, make it your own scorecard, which we did and are still improving based on the results we get. As for WebIQ, I've noticed that it's very adaptable as well, because we the way, or the I'm sorry, the terms we are searching with, those are basically our terms with some additions from the WebIQ consultant, and they really give you a real. They first explain how it works, and then you can actually set your parameters to the risk appetite that you have. So basically, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, that's right.
In addition, I can add indeed that's our specific WebIQ tooling within the whole spectrum of the FRISS also does for Bequiff. So our tooling you can also fine tune. So it can be on languages. It can be also on region. You have some local differences. This can be on the risk categories. So, for example, a certain risk category can be more or less relevant for your search. and also the sources. So for example, you would like the open web, or we could include social media or not, or we can include online reviews, we find it online or not. So this way is also, and of course, we help you selecting the correct configuration for your needs. So that is, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, with that, I would like to close this session. I would like to thank our speakers, Simon, Jelle, and Ronald, for sharing your experiences with us. And I would like to thank all of you in the audience for joining us today for this session. We will be sending out a follow-up email after this, also with contact details in case you have any further questions or want to get in touch directly. And we will also make the recording available if you want to listen to certain pieces again. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.